Tony Kent, and this is another episode of Tony Kent Writes and Cross-Examines. It's the last one that I'll be recording today, last one I'll be recording for a while. I have so far failed to cross-examine anybody, and my pupil master and my solicitors would all be very ashamed of me if they watch this. And there'll be no cross-examination today either, because today we have a lovely guest. We have Rowan Coleman, who also writes under the name Bella Ellis. Rowan is the author of 16 novels, which is just sort of a number that makes me come out in a cold sweat. She had her debut novel, Growing Up Twice, which was award-winning W.H. Smith Fresh Talent Award. She had the memory book, which is Sunday Times bestseller, Richard and Judy Book Club, Love Reading Novel of the Year, and basically just winning everything all around. And then in 2018, The Summer of Impossible Things, which was a Zoe Ball Book Club pick. I hope you watched that, because so was Killer Intent, and you might remember that too. Under Bella Ellis, Rowan writes or publishes the Bronte Sisters Mysteries, first of which was The Vanished Bride, and upcoming, I think, quite soon is The Diabolical Bones, but I'm sure we'll be told all about that in due course. Rowan, thank you very much for giving up some of your Saturday to talk to us.
Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to frankly get away from my kids watching Teen Titans on a loop.
Is Teen Titans on? Because I may have to go and watch that now.
always on.
Well, I've graduated to Young Justice now. I'm too old for Teen Titans. So, Rowan, you 16 novels. When I say that makes me come out in a cold sweat, it really does make me come out in a cold sweat. How many a year do you manage to turn out?
It's usually one and a half, maybe 3 every 2 years.
Right.
I think. I've actually written more than that, but
okay, I'm reading the wrong website.
I've written somewhere in excess of 30, I think.
Okay.
I've written for children and teens as well. Right.
Okay. I was not aware of that. 30. There's not enough hours in the day. There just really isn't there. So under Rowan Coleman, you write. What's the genre you write under your own name?
I like to call it genre fluid. So it's a little bit of sci-fi, a little bit of women's fiction, which I like to call fiction, a bit of a good love story. Sometimes there's a bit of horror, a bit of a haunting, and a bit of history, and generally anything that I feel like I really just like a good yarn, a really good tale. So
you like to tell a story, and it doesn't really matter what genre the story's in.
No.
It's right though, isn't it? I mean, when you look at all the genres, it's very difficult to really say what if something is pure police procedural, for example. We know that's crime. My books are predominantly political action thrillers, and yet I get told I'm a crime writer. There's all right, people might die, but there's no crime in those books. So
it's hard. I think readers like to know what they're picking up, and I think bookshops like to know where to put books. Yeah. But often books fit into more than one genre. So and that kind of classic of all the books that I write, they don't fit neatly into any genre, I don't think.
Well, that's quite a nice way to be though, isn't it? Because you've got so much more freedom that way, and yeah, the rules that are dictating how you should write and what plot needs to go in there. I mean, at the moment, what's this Normal People is real big at the moment because of is it on Netflix or is it on it's on TV anyway, isn't it?
Yes, it's on BBC. I haven't watched it though. I have to say, I haven't seen it, and I haven't read the novel, and I must be the only person in the world who hasn't done either. So,
me neither. But the reason I mention it is because talking about how things get placed in genres, that's been placed as literary. This is a literary, serious piece of work. But having sort of read a little bit of not an excerpt of it, but having read an overview of what it's about, that would very easily fit into things that are less well regarded, wouldn't it? In terms of, put it this way: if she used punctuation marks, it would probably be chick lit.
Yes, a chick lit is a phrase actually that if I could physically murder a phrase, I'd murder that. So,
there's loads of them. There's loads of them, aren't there?
Yeah, a lot of fiction written by women is put into that category, but actually, you know, it's very stark, it's very emotional, it examines what is central to the human condition, but often if it's written by women and it's about women, it is kind of boxed away pink. So I'm glad that Normal People isn't boxed away in something pink, but I wish that all fiction was treated the same.
Well, it's weird how it isn't it? I mean, as saying, going back to crime writing is very looked down upon by certain other parts of the literary world, and actually the kind of slightly sort of actiony stuff that I write is probably looked down upon by most of the crime writing world. So it's ridiculous, it's meaningless, but people do like a box.
They do like a box. Also, I think people like to feel clever about, you know, something in particular that they think makes them feel a bit more, I don't know what the word I'm looking for it is. I think, yeah, a bit more clever than that. So I think you can package a particularly, you know, if you package an accessible book, a slightly more highbrow or faux brow, which is a term that I've heard before, you can sort of get people reading really good adventures, really good fun, but also feeling a bit more special.
Well, it's interesting actually, because we were both of my first book and your Summer of Impossible Things, so Killer Intent and Summer of Impossible Things, were both a couple of years ago in the Zoe Ball Book Club. And I remember speaking to the producer of that, and interestingly, they took a very different approach. And what they said was they were, I'm sure you know this, they were selecting books on the basis of, they imagined a family, a mum and a dad, 2 children, brother and sister, going away on a holiday. And they wanted to choose books that could be read by all of them, a book that could be passed around them and equally enjoyed by all of them. Yeah. Which is a great compliment to your writing, it's a great compliment to my writing. And I kind of like that as a genre, really. I kind of like entertainment as a genre.
I write to entertain. That's really why I do it. And that's, I love reading action and adventure books, and I love a really good mystery, and I love a really sweeping romance, and I love something that just gives me that thrill, sweeps you away to another world. So that's what I'm always trying to do when I'm writing, and I think the same with you as well, is you just want to pick your reader up and set them off on an adventure that's going to take them out of blooming lockdown for a minute.
Absolutely. Exactly. You're writing, again, you use the word, and you're writing to entertain. Yeah. That's the way I see it. I don't want to read something I don't find entertaining, and I don't want to write something that I don't think would be entertaining.
No, and you know, sorry. Writers, Dickens, you know, he was all about the entertainment. Bronte's all about the entertainment. So I don't see that there's anything wrong with wanting to thrill and please your reader. Yeah.
And having discussed how genres are wrong, basically, and they're very restrictive, let's get back to genre, to crime genre. And let's look at what you write under the name Bella Ellis, which is the Bronte Sisters Mysteries.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about that.
So I'm a big Bronte fan. I have been since I was about 10, and it is slightly an obsession with me. I'm a massive geek, basically. Behind me, you can probably see my shelves, which are where I keep my Bronte book collection. So I was writing a Rowan novel a couple of years ago called Girl at the Window.
Yes.
And while I was writing that, I gave a cameo in it where a Bronte sister solves a mystery. Yeah. And as soon as I thought that, I thought, wait a minute, that's fun. I want to write that as a book on its own. And so basically, the Bronte Mysteries imagine that before they became legendary authors, the Bronte sisters were amateur sleuths. So Charlotte, Anne and Emily are charging around West Yorkshire and solving mysteries and crimes. And it's the best fun to write that I have ever had.
Well, it sounds like a pure escapism, isn't it?
It's just lovely.
But pure escapism in a world that you love. I mean, that's ideal.
Yeah,
that's like me writing about Muhammad Ali becoming a detective.
Yeah. Well, why don't you? I do adhere quite carefully to the facts of their life, so I'm not anything too outrageous up, but there isn't any there isn't any evidence that they were amateur sleuths, but there isn't any evidence that they weren't, and that's
exactly. and the first of those was The Vanishing Bride. When was that out?
The Vanished Bride, that was out in last November in hardback, and it will be out in paperback this autumn, but the ebook is currently 99p, so super bargain right now.
Good time to buy that.
Yeah, very good time to buy that. And during that they come across the mystery of a young bride who has vanished from her bedchamber, leaving behind a large quantity of blood, and no trace of her. So that's the solve. And
that's going to be followed up by The Diabolical Bones.
Diabolical Bones, which will be out in hardback in the autumn, is they come across the bones of somebody bricked up in a chimney breast, and they think it's connected to a satanic serial killer. So
serious stuff then.
Serious, but also jokes.
Yes. Okay. Serious, dark overtones and some humour thrown in.
Sort of like Sherlock in bonnets.
Okay. It sounds really interesting. It sounds original, doesn't it? I mean, there's not really much like that out there. Well,
I only realised after I wrote it that it's really big, this kind of genre fiction where real people are often detectives, really big across the Atlantic.
Like the, maybe not detective quite, but like Abraham Lincoln Zombie Hunter or Vampire Hunter.
And there's a Jane Austen detective apparently across the Atlantic, and there's a variety of Sherlock Holmeses. And so it is a genre, but just not one that we have particularly in this country. So it's a bit new for us British people. But I'm so far so good. It's been really well received. So yeah, that's really nice.
It sounds fantastic, and you're turning them out quite quickly as well. So.
Well, you say churning, Tony.
Turning. I said turning. Sorry.
Finely crafted.
I definitely said turning. I wouldn't say churning to you. I churn.
I think if you love what you do, even though a lot of the time it feels like a slog, if you really, really love it and you enjoy it, it's easier, isn't it? Much easier to write a book about a subject that I'm in love with than it would be to write a book about accounting, for example.
Well, absolutely.
No.
You should see my accounts and you would know that was absolutely true. So you The Girl at the Window is at the window, pardon me. Is that your most recent Rowan Coleman book?
That is my most recent Rowan Coleman book, yes. And that's set in Haworth, again, near Haworth, in a real place called Pondon Hall, which I visited a few years ago and fell madly in love with. And it's part the history of that house and the family that owned it, part contemporary fiction and part ghost story with a big heft of horror tropes thrown in, because I do love a horror movie. It's my favourite.
Yeah, you do have. I think eclectic might be the right word. It's a very, very interesting mix of stuff, isn't it? It really is.
Yeah, well, I enjoy it, and I think I like readers to be a little bit taken by surprise by what they're reading, because you can read the same book over and over again. Yeah. Nice, and it's comforting in many ways to sort of read very similar books, but also it's entertaining to sort of step out of your comfort zone every once in a while.
And when's the next Rowan?
The next Rowan is under construction, so I have had a bit of a break over the last year. I think probably because I had sort of Rowan writer's block, not Bronte writer's block, but Rowan writer's block. So I needed to sort of move on from that. So the next Rowan is under construction. I've had a really exciting idea that I'm really looking forward to getting going.
Fantastic. Well, Rowan, I told you before we started that we only had 15 minutes. You know as well as I do, you do plenty of interviews, you know quite quickly that can go. The 15 minutes is almost up. So I'm going to say, everyone who's watching, The Vanished Bride is available now. I'm sure the Diabolical Bones can probably be pre-ordered. And I can see nodding, so it can definitely be pre-ordered. And The Girl at the Window is also out. Rowan, thanks very much for taking time on a bank holiday Saturday, isn't it, to come and join us. Thanks very much.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.